Okay. Well, like you said, there was the wheelchair thing. It's a long story. I've kind of had a tough road to hoe for most of my life. I was exposed. We had in our community a chemical spill, I guess you would say. A company was dumping lead and arsenic into a creek, and it was going down to a municipal lake. And my parents were renting a house on the path of it. And my mother was exposed to lead and arsenic real heavy when she was carrying me. And she got really sick, and they thought she was having a miscarriage. She was sick from the poisons, and they wanted her to complete the miscarriage, and she decided against it. So here I am. But then I had osteoarthritis was from her side of the family, but I don't know really which came first, the chicken or the egg, or whether this poison fueled the arthritis or what, but it just ran rampant. I did do pretty good, like Mark said, in high school, and I played football a couple of years and played in a band. So I was, had a pretty good life till then. But then I got graduated from high school and went to work, and then that's when things started to deteriorate. I had back trouble, couldn't stand very long, and every job I had was on my feet. And so I had several, real bad back aches and stuff, and had some herniated disc and that kind of stuff. And then the older I got, I ended up having, I've had both ankles replaced, and I've had bone grafts in both ankles, and I've had both knees replaced. I've got an elbow replaced, and I've got 3 plates in my neck. So I still probably need to have a hip replaced. It's wore out. And I've got a shoulder that they want to do the reverse shoulder procedure on. And honestly, I was married for 48 years, and my wife passed away 2 years ago. And she helped me through all those surgeries, and, was my rock and helped me with the therapy and everything. And I'm living alone now, so that it's really hard to do anything living alone. So I'm trying not to have any of those surgeries because of that. I'm putting them off. I told the doctor, unless there's a bone hanging out or I'm bleeding to death, just forget it. I'm going home. So hopefully I'm hoping that the X39 and stuff will maybe help prolong these joints and not have to have surgery until I make it to the finish line. So, but I guess it's been about 4 or 5 years ago, I was going to the restroom at about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I went to the ground, and I couldn't get up to save my life. And it was my legs had quit working. I was just literally paralyzed from the waist down. So not to drag that out, but I had surgery. They did a laminectomy of the spine to release some of the pinched nerves from the stenosis. And although it was successful, I still couldn't walk right away. I had to repair the damage and heal the nerves and that kind of stuff. So I did. And it was a very slow process. It took me about a year to get up and walking with any kind of benefit. I could go into a store and buy something real quick and get out. I could drive. I could go, to a convenience store. I could go to a restaurant and stuff like that. And it was getting better every day. And then I had to sell our place. We had 6 acres and a nice house out in the country. I sold all that and ended up in an apartment. And I was having trouble with the parking there. It was a student complex, and there were just a lot of students, and they all had several cars, and I just couldn't get a parking place close to my apartment. So I decided to buy a house. So I did that. But anyway, I was at the apartment one day, and I just noticed my shoulders were hurting real bad, and my left arm was numb, and a lot of other things. It felt like a torn rotator cuff. I've had those. And I went to see an orthopedic surgeon, and he said, well, since he said, you do need a shoulder and you do have 2 torn rotator cuffs, but he said, I believe the left arm is from something in your neck, probably pinched nerves in your neck. So he did a CT scan, and it came back, everything's terrible, nothing's good. And I told him I was having trouble walking with my lower back. So he did a full myelogram. I have to have a myelogram because I can't have a MRI because I've got a pacemaker. So he did that, and it's the same thing. It came back just really bad. And my walking started to deteriorate again, and it got to where I was really just not doing it. I had several surgeons. The first surgeon that did the myelogram said, you know, it's bad news. You know, it's very serious, and I don't know that I could fix anything with a knife. And I said, if we do go in there, you might not survive the surgery. So I thought, well, no, I'm not going to do that. So I set out to find maybe a more confident surgeon. And I went through about 6, and none of them would attempt it. And finally, the last one I saw was in Temple, Texas, where Scott and White has their insurance company and their big hospital. I think it's the second largest in the world. And I went there and saw their Top Gun with the surgeon, and he said the same thing. He said, I don't think there's I can't do anything for you. He said, you might as well get used to being in a wheelchair the rest of your life. So that pretty much hurt my feelings, and I was headed home back to Bryan, about 80 miles. And I was just thinking, you know, Mark had sent me a book, Neil Cannon's Vitality Secret, and he told me about the patches. And I thought, well, you know, if modern medicine can't do anything for me, then might as well take a shot at this. And I told Mark I wanted to do everything he was doing, and except going bald. So I got on the diet, and that was pretty impressive right away. I noticed some results. I've lost about 50 pounds, and the cleansing, I think, had a lot to do with it. And then I got the patches, and I just started with the X39 and 49, and then I graduated to the glutathione and carnosine and Eon. And I used the LifeWave for pain, and things just started getting better. And I'd like to caution people when they start this to start looking at some of the little things that you don't even notice. You know, like my hands were real. I couldn't work with anything real little or pick up stuff, you know, like buttons and things like that. I have a lot of medication. I couldn't put it in the little containers because I couldn't pick anything up. And after a while, I'm putting the pills in the container, and I'm starting to do things like button this top button on my shirt. It's not now because it's wore out. But anyway, my wife had done that for all these years. And I just reached up there one day, wasn't thinking about it, and buttoned the shirt. And I've got a big knot. I've got arthritis all over my body, but I've got a big knot on the side of my hand, kind of in the thumb area. And that thing hurts all the time, just excruciating pain. And I just noticed sitting there watching TV one night, I said, that thing doesn't hurt anymore. And then I just started working with the walking, and started getting stronger and stronger. And now I'm back where I was before it went south. And I was diabetic. I was on insulin, and I've got a doctor I've been seeing for a number of years, and he sees me every 3 months for the diabetes and runs blood work. So the blood work kept getting better and better, and he said, you know, I don't think you need to cut back on the insulin. So I started cutting back, and once I started doing that, I just kept cutting back, because he kind of put me in charge of it. Just you be the guide and the judge. So I kept cutting it back, and if I didn't have a problem, I'd cut back some more till I wasn't taking insulin anymore. So that made me real happy. So then I had blood work done again, and it just all came back. Nothing was out of range. Everything was in range. First time that's ever happened. So I had also, prior to going on the patches, I had gotten real short of breath one night, and I went to the ER, and I stayed there 4 days. And not in the ER, but they admitted me, and they said, you've got acute on chronic congestive heart failure. Well, why wouldn't I? You know, I've got everything else. So they put me on oxygen 24/7, I didn't like that at all because I had to carry the tubes around the tanks and all that. So that's about the time I started the patches. That would have been about May, I think. And around here, it's pretty hard to get in to see a doctor. You're looking at 3 to 5 months to get an appointment. So I kept waiting. They made me some follow-up appointments, but one doctor did go ahead and order a bunch of heart tests. I did a stress test and several other things. And while I was waiting to do that, I'm taking the patches all along. Finally, the day comes to do a follow-up with the heart doctor. And she said, well, have you seen your results? And I said, well, I saw them on my chart, but I don't know what they mean. She said, well, I'll tell you, they're really good. And I said, well, you don't sound that happy about it. She said, well, I'm happy. I just don't understand it. But your blood work's excellent. I mean, your heart test turned out excellent. So I said, do I have to take this oxygen anymore? She said, no, you're sitting here in the office without oxygen and you're breathing that oximeter 97%, I think. So she said, you can ditch that stuff. So I did gladly. And that's pretty much about it. Here I am.